Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is Brian Dewhurst with Uncommon Wealth Partners, and coming at you December 15th, 2017, market update and Bitcoin briefing. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to go rather fast, and let's see. S&P 500 closed today up 17.51 for the year, NASDAQ 25.63, Dow Jones 23.48, and Bitcoin 1,666.56%. Just staggering. So let's get into the charts. I want to show you this. We're looking at the SPX, which is the S&P 500 index, making new all-time highs. Again, up here, we're looking for blue candles to stay on trend above the white 21-day moving average. We got that. We got our green dots from our different time frame charts. That all looks strong. And we got teal bars down here on our squeeze indicators. So everything looking, healthy. And again, we're looking at these trends to see what they've looked like in the past and what the probability of the upside should be or the downside should be as we look forward. So probability of the market moving higher looks to be still intact. Again, this chart, S&P 500, SPX on the monthly, we've got new green candles up here above the 21-day moving average. Squeeze indicator is the same. Moving averages, again, we see the white line on top, which represents the index, which is bullish. And then we've got the 5 green short-term moving averages fanned out and nice gap between the two sets of lines. And then the 5 longer-term moving averages fanned out. So in the past, that has led to a probability of higher prices. And we're not seeing that topping effect like we have in the past. So that continues to show us the probability should continue to be higher, but we'll see if that changes. And then the last one, the S&P 500, just with a 50-day moving average, we've got quite a bit of clearance on that and a green candle. So those all look good. We've got a new chart to show you today, and that is the Bitcoin futures. This was our first week of trading, and again, we're on a 30-minute chart, so this is very short term. So that's why you see so many arrows compared to our longer term charts. As we get more time, behind us with this futures being live, this chart we can zoom out to longer time periods and see different types of trends. But again, kind of something we're exploring using our indicator sets with the futures on Bitcoin. So with that. Again, just we're closing out the year here. The market has been really strong. We're seeing financials lead out here as the Fed raised interest rates. Fed raising interest rates is really healthy and helpful for banks and insurance companies. And so that should be helpful into 2018. In 2018, we're looking at, from what the Fed has indicated, 3 more interest rate increases in 2018 is what they're projecting. I would guess that those would all be quarter point moves, maybe 50 cents or 50 points, if you will. 25 basis points is a quarter of 1%, just to give you a frame of reference. So somewhere between 25 and 50 basis points each raise at the max moving forward. I think with how big our national debt is and how much of a deficit we're running, already we have record tax revenues and we're running at massive deficits still with record tax revenues. And then we're looking at a tax cut potentially if this passes. So I don't see that helping close that deficit anytime soon. So the Fed can't raise rates at a very fast clip because it's kind of like calling your credit card. Hey, I know I'm not going to pay off the balance. Will you raise or double my interest rate? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, but I think we should see 25 basis point moves next year, and that would be healthy for banks and insurance companies. So let's get into now our full update on Bitcoin. I want to just preface this. Philip and I are I've been researching this for several months, and we're getting just bombarded with questions. And we started Uncommon Wealth Partners to be different and to really speak to you and be on the same side of the table as you and research things and be ahead of the trends and bring you things that we think can help improve your net worth and your ability to build wealth over time. And, Bitcoin came out in 2009. Just the increase that we've seen in it is just really unlike anything we've ever seen before. I likened it in the last video to oil. I still hold that belief. And we were trying to do our best to bring you the most up-to-date current information on Bitcoin and what it is. I think fundamentally, and Philip and I have talked about this at length, fundamentally, to me, the most important question to ask in Bitcoin is it money or is it an investment? And I think the returns and the adoption rate and the interest that you're seeing in Bitcoin, especially in the rest of the world, maybe not in the United States, but the rest of the world, is Bitcoin is money. And that's why I think you're seeing returns of like 1,600% in a year, because it's acting like a currency. So comparing Bitcoin to like a stock or an ETF or previous bubbles, in the stock market or real estate, I don't think are quite fair. Obviously, we need to look at those, and that's what I want to do on our next video, is address what is a bubble, what were bubbles in the past, and where does Bitcoin, look like in representation to all that. But fundamentally, I do believe Bitcoin is acting as money, not an investment. So I'm going to approach it that way on this video, and we'll get into that. So the picture on the left is from a client of ours, actually from Colombia today. And you can see the Bitcoin sign right in the middle, which a key means here. And basically it's saying Bitcoin is accepted as a form of payment here. And so you could pay this smoothie truck with Bitcoin. You just take a picture of that little QR code right below the Bitcoin sign there, and you could get a smoothie. And so again, I want you to see is Bitcoin is money in the rest of the world. This is from South America, Colombia, which is very cosmopolitan, probably the best economic country in South America right now. And you're seeing Bitcoin accepted everywhere. He's shared quite a bit from his time in South America, and he said Bitcoin and just cryptocurrency in general are just exploding down there as a form of payment, not a form of speculation, but business owners accepting payment as a way to reduce their exposure to South American currencies, which historically have not been very strong or consistent, like we have here in the United States with the dollar. So on the right, I have a picture of kind of like Bitcoin and more of a stock market type chart showing it going up in value, to just juxtapose the two things, money versus an investment. So let's keep going, and I'm going to continue to frame in this argument. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is digital money. It's electronic money. It's internet currency, digital currency. I think all those words are interchangeable. It allows for peer-to-peer transactions through blockchain technology. I'll get into what the blockchain is in a second. It also allows business to business, business to consumer, consumer to business transactions. Bitcoin was created in 2009 by an unknown source and has been in existence since then. It's been 8 years. It was not controlled or created by a bank or a government, which makes it highly unique. And thus why our government and most of our predominant leaders of banks are saying it's worthless, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's going to zero, all those fun quips. And it's transnational, meaning that everywhere in the world right now basically recognizes the value of a Bitcoin. I'm not saying everybody, but the people that are in the system and have the Bitcoin wallet apps to accept payment, people in every corner of the world right now are accepting Bitcoin payments. And you could pay anyone in the world right now to their wallet from your wallet. So it's transnational. It means it crossed borders, and it's pretty unique. It's very similar, in my opinion, to gold, with one inherent difference. Gold is physical, and you can hold it in your hand, and it's been around for 10,000 years. And the Bible talks about gold 400 different times. So gold obviously has a little bit, I wouldn't even say a little bit, a lot different mechanism. It's physical, and it's got 10,000 years of documented history as a preservation of wealth, as a tool for currency, and as a, item of physical adornment for the wealthy. So, and the final point with Bitcoin is that it's 24/7, meaning you can trade it, move it, accept it 24/7. There aren't these restrictions that we see with a typical banking system, and that is pretty cool. So when we go to sleep, Bitcoin is trading in Asia, and it's moving all the time. So what is the blockchain? You'll hear those two terms a lot. And the blockchain is the digital ledger or record. And what that means is it's just the accounting system of Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that the blockchain is only valid or useful with cryptocurrency. The blockchain as a form of technology can be used in healthcare. The food industries are exploring the use of blockchain. Every real industry in the world is exploring the use of blockchain as a digital ledger or record for inventory, the movement of goods, the movement of information, all those different types of things. So the blockchain is just a digital record, and it requires multiple decentralized computers to verify transactions. So if I were to send Philip a tenth of a Bitcoin, the blockchain would verify through multiple computers that, hey, yeah, Brian, you do have a tenth of a Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallet. And Philip, you sent that to Philip, and he now has that Bitcoin in his wallet, and you no longer have it. Multiple computers around the world are going to verify that little transaction, and they're going to add that. And so let's say 1,000 of those type transactions make up a block. Once those computers verify those transactions, they add that block to the chain, hence blockchain. Just think of it like a chain link. And these transactions are added, and that block is added to the chain. And then if somebody wanted to hack that block, they would have to go through the previous blocks of the chain to try to manipulate that data. And that data has now been recorded and verified across the world through decentralized computers. So it's very hard, if not nearly impossible so far, to hack the blockchain that we know of. And that technology inherently creates instant trust between people, between computers, and across the network. So the blockchain is not controlled or created by banks or governments. And it's transnational, meaning the blockchain works in all countries of the world. It's a language on the computer, and it operates 24/7. So the blockchain and Bitcoin are a very trustworthy, fast, efficient way to move money. And that in itself is value. When you can create commerce more efficiently, that is valuable. So let's talk about that and keep going. Are corporations invested in Bitcoin or the blockchain? I'm also going to double this question. My mom asked me the other night, she's like, well, what can you buy with it? So I'm going to cover both of these because it's kind of the same thing. So Overstock.com has been accepting Bitcoin for several years. Their CEO is a very outspoken proponent for Bitcoin and the technology of cryptocurrency and the blockchain. Virgin, you could go to space once Richard Branson opens that up. Microsoft accepts Bitcoin. Square, if you ever go to get coffee and you see the they're ringing you up on a cell phone with that little white square, that's Square. They now accept Bitcoin for all of their retailers globally. And they're working on bringing that to all their merchants. And then you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. So you could buy pretty much anything you want. And several of the wallets out there, or the kind of think of it like a wallet or an exchange, kind of like a bank or a brokerage firm. But a lot of the wallets out there, you can now attach a Visa debit card to your account, and you can spend in Bitcoin anywhere in the world that Visa is accepted. And those merchants wouldn't even know that you are spending in Bitcoin. Square or Visa takes care of that on the back end. So really, right now, we have the technology for you to buy anything in Bitcoin anywhere in the world from anyone 24/7. And that, in my opinion, is acting like money, not an investment. And we've seen with the use of like debit and credit cards, the easier it is for us to pay someone, that's valuable, and the marketplace will move towards that technology. And in and of itself, that is value. And so that's why I do feel that Bitcoin is valuable, because it makes commerce over country borders and between peer-to-peer and business to business and business to consumer more efficient. And the record of it is unhackable. So it's actually better than what we have right now. That's why I think it's going to go forward. And I'm excited about it, and so is Philip. So then this article here, Google and Goldman Sachs are two of the most active investors in blockchain firms, two massive companies, one being a bank. And it says that in 2017, there have been 42 equity investment deals by corporations totaling $327 million. When you scroll down further in that article, it talks about even more capital investment happening. And it also has the other counter argument to the conversation, which is that these ICO companies or companies investing in the blockchain appear to be overcapitalized, aren't converting the technology to actual revenue or useful products as fast as people would have thought. Very similar to the dialogue of the dot-com bubble, where these companies raised hundreds of millions of dollars through IPOs and then didn't translate that into actual revenue, cash flow, solid business plans that were sustainable. And in that crash, over like 90% of the companies went bankrupt over the next 10 years. So I think we're seeing something similar to that, but it doesn't invalidate the technology. And we'll get into more of the bubble boom bust cycle in the next video. I don't want to get on a tangent on that, but we do have more of that topic coming too, because I don't think you can talk about this without recognizing the fact that hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, are flowing into this. And we need to be mindful of that conversation as well, and the overall value that's being brought to the table sustainably that generates actual business and revenue to support these types of valuations, I guess, for lack of a better word. So how many people are in cryptocurrency? I have done a lot of research on this, and the number is actually very difficult to find, but I'm going to frame it in here. So on the right, we have the law of diffusion of innovation. If you remember, Simon Sinek talks about this in one of his famous YouTube videos. And so it's just the law of which people adopt things. And so the first 2.5% are considered innovators. The next 13.5% are called early adopters, and the next 34% are called the early majority. So this would work like, let's just use the iPhone because that's tangible to everybody. So this would be the curve at which, the people adopted the iPhone. That's only 10 years old, by the way, just a little bit older than Bitcoin. So in that, I always like to talk about the addressable market, and that's the market with which people could buy or use the actual product. So when you look at global business, I'm just going to highlight like 5. There's really 5 in my opinion, and there's probably more that I don't know about, but I'm just trying to keep the conversation simple. Like Apple is a global business. Like in every corner of the world, people probably know what Apple is on some level. Nike, Coca-Cola, Google, those types of companies, right? So that's kind of the trajectory. Now let's look at if Bitcoin is digital or internet money, we should look at the number of people in the world using the internet and the number of people that have money or have a bank account. That's the way I've framed it in. So we have a chart I'm going to show you on the next slide. So this 3.5 billion people have access to the internet and rising. That's true. I think when the numbers come out for December 2017, it's going to be somewhere between 3.8 and 4.1 billion people have access to the internet right now. 5 billion people have bank accounts. There's 7 billion people in the world. So I think the addressable market of the people that could use Bitcoin, I'm just going to say it's 3 billion for the sake of, the argument. And so let's just say, based on the research I've done, it seems like there's 3.3 to, and that was kind of 6 months ago. So I'm just going to take that up 500%. I think there's probably between 15 to 25 million in cryptocurrency people. So let's just say it's 30 million and our addressable market is 3 billion people. That's 1%. If there's 60 million people actively pursuing cryptocurrency with their money, that's 2%. So we're still in the innovator stage of this whole thing. Imagine for a second what the price of Bitcoin might be when we go to early adopters, which is 500% growth from where we're at. That's kind of staggering. And so the other thing I think you got to look at this as is this is a money or a currency, not an investment. And when we talk about, and we're going to talk about this in the next video at length, when you talk about other bubbles, they've all typically been investment related bubbles. And their addressable market was nowhere near 3 billion people. Not to mention, we didn't have the interconnectivity that we do today with the internet. And so there's lots of things that I think we really got to dig through and look at before we just say, oh, Bitcoin's a bubble. But we can't also be naive that it's never going to go down either. So let's look at the next slide. This is how the internet was adopted. So I was kind of curious. I was like, if Bitcoin is digital money, well, how is the internet adopted if we're looking at the adoption rate of Bitcoin? So I found this. I posted the URL on the bottom there so you can look at this as well for yourself. The data is actually kind of fascinating. I'm a numbers geek though. So when you research the internet, the very first pieces to make the internet possible are actually discovered in the 50s and 60s. And then from there in 1983 to 1990, some universities and research groups had intranets. So the intranet is like if you have like a corporate intranet at your work that only people at work can get on, that's an intranet. Now, those operated from, basically the 80s. And then in 1990, a guy created WWW, and his name was not Al Gore. So this really smart guy created WWW, or the World Wide Web, and he connected all these intranets, and that was really the first live version of what we would consider today as the internet. So from 1990 to 1995, we had 16 million people. I personally think that's about where Bitcoin's at right now based on the research that I've done. But again, I'm trying to use information. Let's just say there's 30 to 60 million. So if we're at 16 million or not, somewhere in there, you can just see from December 95 to December 96, the adoption rate grew. It doubled by 125%. Then from 96 to 97, it just almost doubled again. And then from 97 to 98, it definitely doubled. And then from 98 to 99, we added 101 million people globally. And then from December 99 to 2000, another 113 million people. And that's just a lot of people. Now, fast forward December 2016, 3.696 billion people. And like I said, I think this December we'll we'll throw in somewhere between 3.8 and 4.1 billion. That's only about 55% of the world that's using the internet. The internet was created in 1990, I'll just say in its current form. So we're 1990 to 2017, that's 27 years, and we've only hit 55% of the globe. So looking at the fact that Bitcoin is only 8 years old, I think we got to take the long view of this and like, what could this look like in 20 years? It's staggering to think about. But I think, again, you have to look at it as Bitcoin as money, as currency, not necessarily just an investment. Now, another thing, just because we all use our cell phones, the mobile picture. So Bitcoin price versus the worldwide Bitcoin wallet app downloads. October, obviously the date there. So this is a touch dated, but as you see the downloads for the mobile wallets, the price of Bitcoin is going higher. And now you can see the chart there is just shy of 8,000. Now we're over 18,000. The more people that are going to get into this, the higher the price should in theory go. So with all that, I'm going to wrap this video up. And what I want to say is that Philip and I have been doing lots of research. We each have personally bought Bitcoin, and we've done that through an application on our phone called Coinbase. We found Coinbase to be one of the largest and seemingly most secure wallets out there. So if you want to get started in Bitcoin, we have a link here. If you sign up with that link, you get $10 free in Bitcoin, and we do too. So full disclosure, we get $10 in Bitcoin, you would too, so everybody wins. And this is the wallet that we personally use. Now, disclaimer, start small, play the long game with this, and only invest money. I hate saying the word invest because it's money. You can buy anything you want with it, but start small with money you can afford to lose. I wouldn't go into this, with money that you absolutely need. And obviously none of us want to lose money, but this is very new and it's very fast, and you need to respect that. So how much did you invest in your first computer? If this is internet money, we're kind of looking at this like, I remember the first computer my parents had, the slow dial up, you could barely do anything with it, but we all had one, right? And so, or if you think about like the first cell phone, that brick cell phone that maybe your parents had. So start small. Think of this as an investment like your first computer was, and now look at your use of the internet on a daily basis. You can't even fathom not having the internet. I'm not saying Bitcoin is going to be that same thing, but it could be. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going to replace the United States dollar or anything like that. But I don't think it's inconceivable to think that we could have multiple currencies, like the dollar, the yen, the euro, and maybe Bitcoin or Ethereum or some of these other altcoins. And so we'll touch more on the altcoin situation in the next video. I don't want to get on a tangent, but I think you got to look at this like an investment. And third with this, do your own research. So Philip and I have done a ton of our own research. We're talking to people legitimately all over the world about this. And those people all over the world are legitimately using Bitcoin, which to me, again, validates the addressable market and the fact that this is money, more so than an investment. But you've got to come to your own conviction about this, just like you have your own conviction about what bank you bank with or what mortgage type you get when you buy a house or who you do business with for investments. You've got to do your own research and have a level of conviction about this, beyond just somebody telling you should do this. So if you don't have that, then I wouldn't do this. But if you've done the work and you've researched this and you can't stop thinking about it or looking at it, then you should put a very small piece of money in and dip that toe in the water and start feeling it out and investigating it for yourself of what it's like. Because we've personally been doing that for over 6 months, and it's fun. It's exciting. It's something new, and it's very dynamic, and it's very simple to use kind of once you get over that first initial barrier. With that said, the last point we'd like to make is we want this to be part of your consultation and update to your plan. So if you're working with us as a client and you want to understand how cryptocurrency could fit for you and your overall plan, that's where we want to start. It's got to be part of a plan. You shouldn't go into this without a plan. You shouldn't go into anything without a plan. And we do think it's something that is interesting. We do think it's something that's here for the longer term. And so we'd like to discuss how you step into that as part of your overall plan. I can't stress that enough. And to know that you're not alone. This is something that we want to walk through with our clients. We want to help them dip that toe in the water in a very moral, ethical, and legal way. And we're trying to do the best to navigate this whole new industry because it's very new. The government and the SEC doesn't have a lot out on it yet. The IRS is trying to catch up on this. So it's like the wild, wild west. And so we want people to be more cautious. We want to be cautious. I don't think that's a bad thing over the long term. And then just keep asking questions. Ask us questions. Ask your family and friends questions. Watch other videos, other people on YouTube. There's just a wealth of information out there. And just keep asking questions. Just like you had to ask questions like, what's AOL and what's Yahoo and what's Google, or how do I set up a Gmail? It's kind of the same thing. Where do I bank? All those different things. It's the same process. So you've got to do your own work and research. And we're here to provide information to you. But we always, welcome you to go and get other sources of information. So I hope this video is helpful. If you can like the video, that'd be super great, and continue to look for more information from us. We're going to hit you at the end of the year with our final update to see where the market shook out, and we'll add Bitcoin to that. And then we're going to do quite a bit bigger update on money. What is money? Debt-based money versus asset-based money. And then what does a bubble look like? What did the tech bubble look like? And where does Bitcoin fit into those different comparisons? So Philip and I just want to wish you and your family a great and happy holiday, a wonderful Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And you'll see more from us right around New Year's Day. So thanks for watching. Have a great time, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks. Bye. The material in this video has no regard to the specific investment objectives, financial situations, or particular needs of any viewer. This video is presented solely for informational purposes and is not to be construed as a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell a security or any other related financial instruments. Nor should any of the content be taken as investment advice. Any of the opinions expressed in this video are subject to change without notice, and Uncommon Wealth Partners LLC is not under any obligation to update or keep current the information contained herein. Uncommon Wealth Partners LLC and its respected officers and associates or clients may have an interest in the securities or derivatives of any entities referred to in this material. Uncommon Wealth Partners does not accept any liability whatsoever for any loss or damage of any kind arising out of the use of all or any part of this material. We recommend that you consult with a licensed and qualified professional before making any investment decision.